Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Genevision Media. My name is Genevieve and we are joined by the phenomenal... You're going to have to put your YouTube on mute. Oh, sorry, that's me. Yeah, as I was saying. We are joined by the phenomenal Kwame McPherson, and he is going to be sharing with us some powerful information today. Now, he's a writer, but he has used his passion to create his business. He is an author. He's wrote a number of books. He's a poet. He's done some lovely poetry. He's also a mentor and a trainer. And he's also published books, and he's a motivational speaker. So today he's going to be sharing with us how, a bit about himself and how he decided to actually turn his passion into a business. And I think a lot of us would really like to know this information because we're working in jobs that we might not necessarily be happy with, and we're doing really conducive to our calling in life. So today, Kwame is going to share with us, and he's also such a lovely person. He's always so motivated. He's always, always giving me a word of encouragement. I've worked with him over a number of years, and he's just a phenomenal guy. So Kwame, please introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your journey, where you're from.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you, Genevieve. That was so wonderful to hear. And I'm humbled by it.
We're losing you a bit, Kwame. We're losing you a bit. Go again. Hold on. It's a bit shaky at your end. Maybe pull out the can you pull out the earphone, see if it sounds any better?
Yeah, how's that?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I say no, thank you. I'm humbled by that, what you just said earlier. We know each other for quite a while from a previous business, and it's been, so thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this step in technology. For me, it's a wonderful way to see the potential of this. So what have I done to create something from nothing, really? Okay, so for me, I always say I grew up in Jamaica, and I was born here, but I went to Jamaica when I was very young. I grew up in Jamaica, spent most of my formative life there. And whilst growing up in the Caribbean, you're always encouraged to write. So that's how my writing began. Encouraged to write essays and compositions and poetry. And so it just became a norm. It's only when I left the Caribbean, or when I left Jamaica and I came to the UK, that I started to flourish, or that ability started to flourish. And I worked in organizations where I would, do poetry. Like I used to work in civil service, and I used to have a civil service magazine, and I used to contribute to that. But even then, I didn't realize the potential of my gift, so to speak. So I just did it as a hobby. People wanted, then you are the poet, and they wanted the poem to be done for a loved one or a friend, and I get characteristics from them, and I do a personalized poem. So that's how the poetry began. So it was mainly from poetry. I did a number of competitions and became runners up, and that's how it started to roll on. And then I decided to branch off into writing, storytelling, and then that became successful in my life. But it was only when in 2006 I decided to start taking it seriously. I've been to university, got my qualifications, so I'm able to write formally as an assignment, that kind of thing. but the creative side of what I wanted to do hadn't come to the fore yet until 2006. And that came about because I was going through a personal challenge at that time. And I was in Canada, because I lived in Canada too. And at that time, things started to come to me. You know? What I'm good at.
Hold on, Kwame, I think we're losing you again. Go back to when you said you went to university, so we can hear you.
I started having challenges. This way. Hello? No?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, good. Yeah, so I started having challenges in my own personal life, which took me to a place where I had to take time out to be still and to learn. Because sometimes in life, we go through particular challenges, and these times, when we go through those times, is basically to take us back to source, or take us back to who we are. And my challenge happened, like I said, in 2006. I was going through a lot of personal issues at the time. And I was in a very, very dark place, very dark. And I had depression, ended up being very sick, almost suicidal to a certain extent. But I was helped out of that episode by the love of family around me, as well as me having to revisit my purpose in life. And that's where the writing came to the fore. And 2006 was when I compiled my first book from poetry that I had done before back in the 90s. And by 2007, I had actually produced my first book. It was self-published. And so I think I was probably one of the earliest pioneers, because I was living in North America, of self-publishing at the time. And that's what happened. And then from there on, it's like I just started to write, started to publish books, and started publishing short story books and more poetry. And yeah, just kept evolving. And then I met my mentor, my writing mentor in Canada at the time, but it's only when I came back to the UK that I actually attended one of the seminars. And I had a discussion with him, and he made me realize that the books that I was writing, even though they were good books in their own right, they weren't business oriented, or they wouldn't be able to make me an income, or would be able to get me to another level. So I had to then take some time out again to redress and relook at the type of books I was writing. And then I started to look at writing nonfiction, because that really is where income generation can actually occur. And my mentor helped me through that process, and then came up with my first nonfiction book about 4 years ago with a previous business partner. And that did very well, opened many doors. We had another nonfiction book, which hadn't been released yet, but still in the pipeline. But then I started to look at, okay, a lot more people started to understand about self-publishing. I wanted to write for themselves. And like I said, I think I was probably one of the earliest ones from back in 2006, 2007. And I started to tell people, oh, it's a very easy process. Then from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. And then it so happened that it just spiraled. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I can make something of this. I did a lot of workshops, put on creative writing workshops, having young people write, having people who just are interested in writing, and so it basically evolved. And my hobby is now a business, basically. And I'm now able to take on clients, help them through the writing process, help them to publish their own books, as well as take them to another level, because a book can actually open many doors. And that's what happened, in terms of the journey in a nutshell. But it's been a phenomenal journey in its own right, and I'm still here publishing and helping other people to be what they want to be through having a book.
That is brilliant. So you said that the writing actually helped you through a dark place in your life.
Yes, it did.
Would you say that that somebody's passion or something that they're good at can actually help in terms of dealing with any type of depression or even sickness? Do you think that sometimes it's almost that your potential hasn't been unlocked? Why you feel that way?
Exactly. Because what has happened is that I remember this. I think T. Harv Eker says that you're like a plane. A plane never flies direct to its destination. It always the journey is always wavering. So it goes up and down, left and right. So the journey is never straight. So in terms of a life journey, there's times when we're on the same path, you know, we need to be taken back to where we're supposed to be going. And that could mean having part of experiences, which enables that. The experiences 9 times out of 10 tend to be negative. That's if you're in a negative thinking place or negative place. And then when you're in that place, you can't see anything else. But it's also an opportunity that is showing you that there's something about what you're doing which is not working, you know? So that's when we get hit from one side to the next and we're stressed out, you know, probably doing something that we don't love, and, you know, we get ourselves sick because we're thinking about it, or in that part of the mindset. So the thing is having the ability to identify what is it that we're supposed to be doing once when you're in that place, you know? And like I said, many people tend to be locked in that place or caught in that place where they're unable to see further than they know, so to speak. So it's always good to have a mentor. So fortunately for myself, I had someone who showed me what I'm good at and then enabled me to be on the path that I'm on today. So for sure, in answering your question, yeah, it can cause you being in that particular place. There's signs, but it also can keep you in that place if you can't read the signs and you need help with that.
That's brilliant. So you said you had a mentor.
Yeah.
Who was your mentor, and who did you read growing up, and who did you read while you was going through the transition of working on your own business?
Oh wow, my mentor at the moment, well, my writing mentor is Raymond Aaron. Now Raymond Aaron has written a book called Doing What You Love. Yeah, Doing What You Love. It's a New York bestseller. He's also written stuff with Jack Canfield, who's written Chicken Soup for Soul. He's written a book for the Dummies series, so he's well, you know, I mean, up there in terms of being on the bestsellers, and I mean global sellers list. So my mentor is Raymond Aaron, and he has been very good. I'm still a part of what he has today, and he's always good in advice and giving support, and he helps so many other people write and publish their books. In terms of reading, I read constantly. I read various. Growing up, used to read Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew. There you go. You know what I mean? That's all I used to read. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That's what I used to read. And I used to read a lot of cowboys books called Louis Elmore. There's a whole, you know what I mean? So much. There's a book called Edge. But let's go back in the day. You can Google those names and you'll find them. But as of late, I tend to read anything to tell you the truth. I read empowering books, and I read books that are just for fun, because as a writer, and you have to be able to read, you know, read other people's work, and then be able to use that, not use it, but to have an understanding of how they've formulated stories, how they've created characters, and that kind of thing. When I was going through my particular time, the book that actually helped me, there's a number of books that helped me through my period when I was in that place. And the book that helped me was Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Ileana Van Sant, Spirit of a Man. Yeah, that's a very powerful book. Jack Canfield's The Success Principles. Yeah, it's another great book. Anthony Robbins, Les Brown. So I was able to read a number of books around empowerment and motivation. But the one that really opened up my eyes was Ileana Van Sant, because I was in a particular place, and that book was right for that time. So Spirit of a Man is a book that I was like, wow, that just blew my mind, you know. So that was the book that really took me through a particular time, and then empowering all of that, like I said, enhancing all of that with Jack Canfield and T. Harv Eker and Les Brown and Anthony Robbins.
That's brilliant. So you said that you've written fiction books, and I've read some of your fiction, and it's absolutely amazing. You can
thank you.
Dialogue. You can do dialogue, guys. You can do like all the Jamaican patois, and the thing and you know exactly what's happening. Do you know what I mean? It's brilliant. But you've also said that you've done non-fiction. So
I have.
what non-fiction books have you done?
Right. Today, I've done 2 non-fiction books for myself. I'm a business partner. One is 10 Steps to Retirement Life, which is educating people about retiring, because we're involved in the pension business and still are to a certain extent.
Hold on, we're losing you again. We have to go back to that position where you were getting a good sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and I'm saying that there's 2 books that have been done, non-fiction, 10 Steps to a Better Retirement Life, and successful tips for restaurants. So 10 steps to better to retirement life have been launched. It's been on for a long time actually. But it's basically educating people about their pension and having money squirreled away for them when it comes to retirement. Because many people don't know what's going to happen when that time came. So myself and my business partner at the time, Pauline Clark, had identified this because of our own situation, and we decided to create a book from it. So that was the first one. Second one was mainly based around Pauline's expertise, which she was a restaurateur, and that book is 10 tips for a successful restaurant. That's yet to be launched. It's still in the pipeline. So those are the two main ones. But I tend to help a lot of other people write their own nonfiction. So I've got a number of clients on my books right now who've actually written their own nonfiction books, and which I've helped them to publish as well as help to promote.
Right. I really hope my children are watching this live, because yeah, getting them to read is a bit difficult sometimes. So I hope they can understand the impact that it has. But yeah, so I also spoke about previously, you turned your passion into a business. Now, I know I'm going to give away a lot of tips here, and I'm asking you to probably give away a lot of stuff, but as my listeners are so dear to me, I'm going to ask you, what was the process that you took to actually make your passion into a business? You again? So say again? No, I still can't hear you. I think it might be your lead to your earphones.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Can you hear me now? All right, cool. Yes, I was saying that. It's funny you should say that, because my next book is called 7 Tips for the Virgin Entrepreneur, doing it for the first time. So basically within that book, it outlines the tips that I needed for somebody before they become an entrepreneur, the mindset that they need to have, the lessons they need to learn. So, because there is a process prior to, somebody can jump up and say they want to be an entrepreneur. That's fine. But guess what? You have to have the mindset for it. You have to be persistent. You have to persevere. You have to have patience. So there's a number of things that are a formula that go before actually becoming an entrepreneur, and that starts with the mind. So that's what I say. If people want to know more, they can always get my next book. 7 tips for the virgin entrepreneur doing it for the first time. It's going to be out. It should be out by next week, actually. The ebook.
That is a powerful title.
It is actually. When I put out the cover and everything virally, it's like it just blew up. And the book wasn't even out yet. So yeah. So that's what I've done. And basically, like I said, it starts with the mind first.
So you actually help others now to write their books, and like you said, you go through that process of going through the mind first, and probably getting people out of that place where they're not really, where they should be in life. So now you do that with other people. Can you talk about some of the successes and some of the people that you work with in that?
Oh, wow. Okay. There's 2 main examples, and because I work with clients internationally, and I've had a client in Jamaica who wanted to write a book. I met her via Facebook, funny enough, and she just put it out. She had a manuscript that she'd been sitting on for years, and she didn't know what to do with it. So I said, all right, this is what I do. I help people to publish. So she said, all right. She sent a couple of chapters to me. I looked at them. I edited them and formulated it into a flowing story. She loved what I did, and she said, all right, she'll work with me. And that was last year, May. By November, we had a book. But not only did we have a book by November, in the time, because her story is so traumatic in terms of violence and abuse, and I don't mean a one-off, it happened constantly during her younger years, and how that impacted on her as an adult. And from the time we had started the project until November, she had grown so much that she was, even before the book was finished, there's an international writers festival called Calabash International that takes place every 2 years in Jamaica. It's an international writers festival, and it's massive. You have like 4,000 people that attend. And she actually read, first time ever, she actually read aspects of her book at the festival. Now, not only had the writing to be able to express, she was able to be empowered and confident about her writing, that she was able to present in front of 4,000 people at the open mic. And I was blown away. But what's even more powerful about her story is that since having a book, she read to the UN chapter, United Nations chapter, women's chapter in Jamaica. And I think she's been invited to UN New York to do a reading. She's given a couple copies of the book to the National Library in Jamaica. She was actually featured in The Voice here. She's been featured in Trinidad's newspaper yesterday, Guyana the day before. So her story has gone, I mean, worldwide basically. And so that is one of my greatest successes, because I've helped her to tell her story, which is a very trying and traumatic story, but how she has actually succeeded, because she has a wonderful business running in Jamaica, beautiful family around her, and yeah, she's just gone on to greater things. And the book is called Unearthing the Diamond, by Tamika Felina Pommels Williams. So it's Unearthing the Diamond, Strife and Struggle to a Successful Life, I think it's called. But yeah, so that was one book that I'm very, very proud of. The other book that I'm proud of is a friend of mine recently created this wonderful idea. She had a wonderful idea which she shared with me last year, July actually. And then in November, she actually brought and manifested this idea. Now the idea was a patch talking dolly called Toya, right? So it's Toya, Jamaican patch talking dolly. So this is the idea. She came up with the idea, and by November we had the launch and everything. But what's so successful about that part of the project is the fact that she had a vision, she rolled it out, and then she asked me, because there's a book series that goes with the dolly, right? So I'm a part of that project in terms of writing the stories of 3 young women who are immigrant children in a new environment, growing up in a part of the school or whatever, and their experiences. So the book is now running alongside, the dollar. So that's also another really successful project. So I'm tend to be very particular the type of projects that I take on, because one, you're talking about exposure, you're talking about market niches, you're talking about leverage, you're talking about where the book can actually take an individual. So having a book is fine, but it's what kind of book do you have? So those are the 2 main ones that I have in terms of particular projects that I worked on. And obviously I have my own. Like I said, I have my next book coming out.
Wow, it seems like you're actually making an impact with the people that you're mentoring, and the type of things that you're putting out there. And definitely it sounds like those 2 ladies are people that I may need to have on the show, because they seem like they've got brilliant as well. Definitely. And I have to say as well, I'm not necessarily a very good writer. I'm an avid reader, but I'm not a very good writer. But I know that I have one of the co-hosts of this show. She actually does a blog, and sometimes when she writes, it brings tears to my eyes, because she's so very honest in the way that she writes, and some of the things that she's been through in her life, even recently. It's like she's shared with it in a such a beautiful way that it just goes straight to your heart, and there's things that like you just never will forget. And I think sometimes people they don't really understand the power of writing. And the other thing that we remember as well is writing is the basis of everything. And I tell my children this all the time: all the films that you watch on the TV, somebody had to write it.
That's right.
Even the computer programs and the games that people play,
right.
it had to be written at some point. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, we need to really kind of get to grips. And I'm going to ask you later on down the line about how you feel about youth, but really I need to ask you. They say that you have to have a why so high that it makes you cry. So tell me what your why is. Why do you do this? Why do you help other people?
Because one thing I've learned in terms of what, and I learned from gurus and mentors, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, T. Harv, Zach Canfield, and whoever else, Ryan Tracy, all of them, is that one of the things In order for you to be fulfilled, and that means an individual, in order for you to be fulfilled, you have to help other people to be fulfilled. My biggest why is seeing, like I said, seeing how I've taken one person on a particular journey and how that journey is not only impacted upon her, but other people, using what I've been doing. Oops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, yeah. So whatever comes from that why is components. Cause can you hear me now? All right. Yeah. So whenever you help someone else to become wealthy, then you in your own right will become wealthy, and that means wealthy spiritually, wealthy physically, wealthy mentally, wealthy emotionally, and wealthy financially. So for me, my why is to enable other people to tell their story, and then I have other whys that come from that, but that's the biggest one. That's the
Okay.
biggest one.
And so would you say, what kind of inspires you to even write your own things? And, is it life stories of yourself? Are
Yeah.
we going to see an autobiography at some point? Or biography, whatever it's called, is when you write your own?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you should say that, because majority of what I write and what I've written is made in life observations, whether they're my own experiences or somebody else's, or what's going on at any particular time. So if you look at my first short story book, Deep Root Strong Tree, there's a story in there which is pertinent to me, and that's basically based on what happened when I saw what was happening between my parents at the time. And the interaction and the abuse and the trauma that took place at that time. So that is my part of the story within that book. But everything else that I write tends to be a lot of observations of what's happening around, or even sometimes fictional. So take for example, I've written and I'm in the process of writing a Western hero story. Basically, it's a cowboy story, and it's based on an African American, or the first African American U.S. Deputy Marshal. So, but that's all fictionalized. He's real, but it's fictionalized. So there's aspects of what I do which are real, and aspects which I do are fiction. So it's a matter of using imagination, really.
Brilliant. And I suppose you have to have like a vivid imagination to come up with all
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah, I got a vivid imagination. But as a creative, you tend to have a vivid. I used to do art. I mean, I still can draw to a certain extent, but a lot of my creativity comes through my writing.
Mm. So do you work with young people at all?
Oh yeah. I used to do, well, a couple of years, some years ago. Done about Hackney, done about Islington, Haringey. Then they would contract me in for Black History Month, even though and I used to, and I did a lot of work around creative writing with young people at the time. But even last year, recently, I went to a school down in Battersea where I engaged young people again over Black History Month, using poetry and storytelling and Nancy storytelling to engage young people and to get them interested, and then telling them about black inventors and what black inventors have invented, and that kind of thing. So that's keeping that story alive. So I work with young people. I've been invited to do a session this weekend, actually, working with young people. So I do have, and I have another event in Bristol where I'm working with young people again over different years. So that, and so I do work with young people, and it's a matter of making writing come alive, showing them how it can come alive and get them involved and get them engaged and let them understand that writing is the fundamentals of it. Like you just said, writing is the basis of everything that we do, really. You know what I mean? Somebody has written about something and it's been created, you know?
Definitely. And what is your kind of overall view of the youth? Do you think, the youth are always being criticised for, their educational standards? What is
Yeah.
your overall view? And do you think there's anything us as people, parents, mentors,
Yeah.
people out there, is there anything that we could do to help assist them?
Yeah. Two things. One, the time that we're living in is a creative time, right? that means the energies that we have, and especially our young people, cannot be shackled. What we have are systems, or a system that is still operating from the 19th century, right? It hasn't caught up yet with the mindset or the way young people operate in this day and age, in the 21st century. So we're trying to impose 19th century parameters on young people. It don't work. Young people in their own right are very creative. It's a matter of tapping into that creativity and showing them and harnessing that creativity and what they can actually create from that creativity. So the system that we have doesn't enable that. So it's down to mentors, or even people, even parents, who to make themselves aware that the system that we have is not working. Technology is moving so fast every day, but still yet the way we're teaching young people is something from the 19th century. That don't make no sense. We have to catch up and let them and then use the technology that's available to empower young people to be all they can be, and it can be done. But like I said, because what tends to happen is that when young people don't harness that energy, then it manifests itself in a different way, in a different time. I've been seeing it up to yesterday with a young person who was murdered out in Willesden, in Brent. You know what I mean? Because they have not been shown how to get that energy out in a particular way. They have not been shown to say, you know what, this is what you're good at. Let me support you in making sure that that is what you're going to be. That's what you're going to use to create something from. So we still have the mindset of teaching them how to get a job. Hello, that's gone. The reality is, listen, no, we can't teach young people how to get a job. We have to show them that there's a technology that's available that can create anything they want to create from it, and allowing them to enhance in their journey to become all they can be in whatever that is. But we can't tend to pigeonhole them to which is what the system actually does, and that's the reason why young people are the way they are, in my opinion.
Wow, you have just covered so many grounds with that answer. It's just ridiculous. Like, seriously, like about 20 light bulb moments when he was talking.
Yeah, man. We have to get with the program, man.
Yeah, and definitely, I have to agree with you 1,000,000%. Children that are left to their own devices and not given things to like cultivate their minds, they will get up to mischief. It's as simple as that. And we always feel that just because we may not necessarily have the money, or we might not have the resources, we feel, oh, our children can't do this and can't do that. Because remember, the people that have more money, they put their children in a lot of activities. They're always doing things to find out what they're good at and just to keep them busy. But then you just showed us a way where we can actually just use what they have to kind of, create something out of it, and, use that imagination and bring it forward. So, we don't have any excuses when we're having people like you telling us, giving us this kind of information. And I remember one of my previous guests actually said to me that when she had her children, when her children were babies, like she was kind of stuck in the house a lot, and she just wanted to have adult conversation. So what she used to do with her son is actually read him economics books in a baby voice, just for the sake of like having adult conversation. And now, 19 years later, her son is going to study economics. So it just shows you, there's little things that we can do to kind of encourage our children, and we have to be creative as well. We have to, my oldest son, he doesn't necessarily like reading all the books. I was very distraught when I found out he didn't like, the Roald Dolls and the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. I was well looking forward to get back into them books, and he wasn't having a bar of it. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, but then I had to discover different ways to kind of, like, he was into video games. So I was like, okay, let's read about video games or whatever you're interested. And you have to kind of cultivate them on those different kinds of.
That's right. So, exactly what you said. Because so take for example, if you, like you said, you start knowing when you're in a video game, all right? Fine, because I do it even with my nephew. I say, all right, we're gonna play this game. Right, and we're breaking on the game in terms of the objective of the game, to win, and so on and so forth. And then you start saying, okay, you enjoy playing this game. How about becoming a professional video game player? Because they do have that. You know what I mean? If you love it that much and you're passionate about it, why don't you become a professional video game player? You know what I mean? Even worse, you can go and set up your own, or if that's something you want to do, there's ways and means of doing it. And like I said, everything that we want or need is online. Everything that we want or need is online. So there's ways and means of supporting young people in terms, like I said, of getting them where they need to be. And we have to be aware of that. We can't have our thinking and then use that thinking to try and grow them. Okay, it won't work. Now go work. You need to guide them.
Definitely. That's brilliant. Okay, so my last question to you, Kwame, is it is 2017 and
Yes.
Genevision Media has been focusing on helping our audience to have the best year yet. 2016 was a bit dark and dusty for a lot of people. So we want to encourage people how to make this year. It's like kind of New Year's resolution time, you know, goals are being set and ideas are being thought through. So can you give us some tips on how 2017 can be the best year that we've ever had? Give us some of your tips.
Okay, personally speaking, the first thing I've done this month is taking some time out. Not to set up resolutions, because personally I don't believe in them. I believe in setting realistic goals and then ticking those goals off as the time comes around. Or even shifting the goalposts, so I can do that too, right? But the main thing is to stay focused. So I have a big end goal, but then I have small steps in between. So that's the first step. Have a big end goal for the year, for example, and then in between you have smaller goals. So if you have, say, for example, one of my goals in terms of my business for this month was to acquire X amount of clients, right, on X amount of income for myself, right? So that's my goal. I'm halfway there, but so the other half needs to be completed, which means I have to take action to get the other half. So I said, okay, this is what I need to do in order to get the type of client that I'm looking for, which means going out networking and so on and so forth. So that's my goal for the January. Now for February, I'm going to have another set of goals, and in terms of trying to take my business to another level. So each month that goes on, so that's another tip. So let's look at each month, have a realistic goal within that month, and then you work backwards in a sense. So you can say, okay, for the first week, my goal is to achieve X. I've done X, or I've done part of X, and I can move on to the second goal the following week. But making it realistic. So someone could say, you know what, I don't know, they want to go to college in September, for example. Okay, have you defined what you want to do? Do you know where you're going to get the money from to do it? You know what I mean? What does that look like? You know, have you exhausted all the options that you have in order to fund it to get where you need to be? Sometimes, I'm using that as an example. Sometimes you don't even have to have all the money. You can go to college or wherever, university, and say, listen, I don't have the money, but I really want to do this course, and they will probably meet you halfway. You know what I mean? So that is another tip, is that we must also not be afraid to ask for what we want. You know what I mean? And whether we ask it internally or whether we ask somebody else, because they're the ones who call the purse strings. So that's another tip. So going back over is that the first step is to have a huge objective for the end of the year and working smaller goals to get to that objective. Second thing is not being afraid to ask for what you want. And the third thing I would say is that identifying what it is that you want to do. You know, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to do so many, you know, some people say there's no jobs out there, but I would dispute that depending on what you're looking for, because once you put it out there, you can get it. You know, so do you want to go to college to get retrained? Do you want to set up your own business? And all these things will have their own ways of actually trying to be accomplished, or how somebody can actually accomplish them. So once you put it out there, the things that you need to come in the way will happen. And I'll give an example. I said that I wanted to go to Singapore to put on a workshop. I said this some time ago, actually. And lo and behold, I did a hosting of an event, and I met someone who's now gone back to Singapore. And I said to him, so listen, I want to come to Singapore and put on a workshop. So I said, let's see how we can make this happen. You know, can get sponsors in. You know, you see my details online. You know, I mean, you know, quality I'm going to bring. So the things that, you know, so you just whatever you ask for, people are coming away for that to make it happen. So and like I said, people shouldn't be afraid to ask what they want, really. So those are the things that I would have. There's many more. Believe me, there's many more. Not say, for the time being, someone is be aware of what you want to the end of the year. Tick up the goals to get to that point. Do not be afraid to ask, and yeah, just stay focused.
Brilliant. That is some very useful tips, and I definitely will be taking some of them on board myself. So yeah, just finally, I just want to kind of plug your website. Your website is Kwame McPherson.com.
www.
And
books
and everything.
Well, my website is www.kwame, Kwame, McPherson, McPherson.com. And on my website, there's a link to where people can actually buy my books. And also how they can actually contact me if they so wish. If they want help in terms of publishing, they want the mentoring in terms of how to write. If they're not sure how to write, and actually talking about that, I just finished an article today about ghostwriting. And because one of the things I've also identified is that a lot of people want to write, but they don't know how to write, and they hate how to write. So there's something called ghostwriting, which I also do, is help people how to write, so I write on their behalf, so to speak. So that's an article I just did. It's in LinkedIn. If people Google my name in LinkedIn, Kwame McPherson, they'll see that article. And if they went on Facebook, they'll see that article too. So yeah.
Any social media links that you care to give the audience?
Yeah, like I said, I'm on Facebook, also Kwame McPherson. LinkedIn, Kwame McPherson. Website, www.kwamemcpherson.com. Twitter, @KwameMA. Those are the ones that I use for the time being. Yeah, those are the platforms that I use.
Brilliant. And you've also got your own talk show. You've got tell us about that.
Oh, right. I'm working with I was headhunted to work with a company called Media, IDELICK.com, and I've got two shows. One's called the Kwame McPherson Show, whereby I interview people like what you're doing with me here. There's been people who are doing a lot of good work, a lot of stuff in the community, and even globally. I also have the Chronicles with Kwame and Janelle, which is a small news snippet show where we actually have news snippets of things happening in the diaspora. And we have another show coming up, but it went on idelic.com site. You'll see my programs, and even if you YouTube my name, you'll see them come up too. So yeah, so that's fun actually. I really do enjoying doing that, because I'm meeting some very interesting and I'm really powerful people doing a lot of good work. A lot of inspiring work. Mm.
Okay, you froze up a little bit there, so we didn't hear the last thing you said.
Okay, I'm saying that I've been meeting a lot of great people who are doing some wonderful work, phenomenal and inspiring work across the diaspora. So my two shows focus on diasporans, and that's African Caribbean people doing diaspora, or African diaspora who are doing some great work. And that's my show. I enjoy doing it. I do really like meeting really wonderful and great people.
I do have one final question actually before I let you go. Well, I was told a couple of years ago that author means having authority over. So it's like when you write a book, you have authority over that subject. And I've seen you with this this word, authorpreneur.
Yeah.
So tell me how you got the authorpreneur kind of. I know obviously it's author entrepreneur, but how did that come about?
It came about a few years ago. Again, because I started to crystallize my business. I crystallized who I am and what I'm doing. I saw this as there was an article that I remember seeing once, who's an entrepreneur, and I printed it out actually, and I've kept it. And I said, this is who I am, because not only am I a writer and an author, I'm also an entrepreneur, because there's other things that I get involved with. So, for example, at the moment, there's another project I'm involved with, which is about selling Jamaican property, for example. So there's other projects that I'm involved with, which as an entrepreneur, you looked at leveraging and as well as creating residual income, right? Multiple streams of income. So that's who I am as an entrepreneur. Right, as an entrepreneur who dabbles in various projects, income generating projects. So that's how it came about. It came about a couple of years ago, a number of years ago actually. So I've taken on that mantra.
Brilliant. Sorry, audience, I forgot to ask if you wanted to ask any questions. But,
yeah.
I was getting so into the interview, I didn't think.
Oh, wow.
Boss Lady Empire said, "You're a great host." Oh, thank you, Shay. Love you. Shay is also another amazing woman. She does an award show called the Reba Awards. And
right, I heard of it.
Awards, yeah. She does the Reba Awards, and she builds, gives a platform for a lot of businesses with that awards thing. She's doing some amazing things. I had a conversation with her the other day, and do you know what she did? Yeah, the winners of the awards on the helicopter ride. They had mentoring session in a helicopter.
That's awesome.
Like,
that's good. That's great.
My life insurance would go up if I went on that.
That's great. That's good.
That's what she's doing. That's how she's doing things. She goes all out. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna have her on the show soon. But Kwame, thank you so much for taking up your time to speak with me today. Coming to the Genevision Media platform.
Thank you.
Day, and you just you're amazing. And I always say when I bring people on the platform, I like to tell people, like, I hear from women, oh, there's no good men out there, and no one's ambitious and this, that, and the other. Now, I've given you loads of examples, so I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to hear it because I've given you examples. You're dealing with the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the platform, and I'm sure I'm gonna have to have you back again.
Come on,
definitely. Thank you so much. It's been great. So I'm just gonna sign out from YouTube now. Thank you guys for tuning in, and anyone who's going to be joining and watching later. Thank you for being on YouTube and watching Genevision Media. Please remember to subscribe to Genevision Media. If you click the bell button next to subscribe, you get notifications when we're live. So you know straight away, yeah, we're doing a live stream. And I'm telling you, we've got some amazing things in store. Tomorrow, I'm not even going to tell you what we're discussing, but we're having another discussion. And it is going to be deep. You do not want to miss it. You need to tune in. So after the show, I'm going to start promoting for that event. But I just want to thank you guys for being here. So peace out, guys. See you soon. Bye.